Hi class, how are you doing this week? We have a little bit of break, a bit of a break in our schedule, and so we're just going to be doing two discussions this week. One of them is going to be continuing on one of the skills we've been kind of learning over the past couple weeks, and then one of them is going to be something brand new, and I think you're going to be excited about both. So let's talk about the brand new one. So brand new, being creative. In the second DB this week, you're going to be creating your own piece of creative nonfiction. So one of the things you'll notice about creative nonfiction is that it has all the characteristics and hallmarks of fiction, yet is nonfiction in the sense that it happened. So if you're looking at the prompt, create a brief original story about a true nonfiction out of the ordinary experience, so that you are employing the skills of fiction that we've learned about, utilizing rhetoric, things of that nature, but we're dealing with something that is nonfiction and not fiction. Try your best at that, and I always think this is fun because it gives us a chance to kind of do some fun, interesting stuff. So even if you don't fancy yourself a creative writer, just try to put yourself out there, be experimental a little bit, and just have fun with it. Now, the first DB this week, like I said, it's going to be continuing on a skill that we've been talking about for a couple weeks now, and that's basically evaluation. So I wanted to take a moment just to talk about why we're focusing so much on evaluation, and then talk a little bit about the DB itself. So, why evaluation? Well, one of the reasons why we're evaluating these different works is to understand how to pick and choose sources down the road. So it is very important in order to make sure that you have good sources for your research paper and beyond, not just in this class, that you know what is an effective source and an ineffective source or a questionable source. And so that when you're looking at these different essays, what you should do is look at the criteria in terms of the bubbles to help guide you to determine whether or not something is effective. For the most part, those are sort of general criteria that you could apply down the road. So even if you're in a business class, you could use those criteria to kind of tell whether or not the author knows what he or she is talking about. Then sometimes there might be discipline-specific types of questions, but we're mainly looking at kind of the general questions that you could ask of a source at sort of any moment. So for example, organization, how do they support their point of view? What types of support do they use? Meaning, do they only use personal support? Do they only use sort of scientific support? Do they only use sort of anecdotal support maybe that they gathered? So looking at not just how they support it in terms of the organization, but what types of evidence that they're using to support their argument is important to help us evaluate the source as a whole. And so that's some of the things I just wanted to kind of point out to you, because you might look at this DB and go, this seems kind of similar to something that we've done already, but in reality, we're just sort of practicing the skill, because if you look at the research paper, this was something that needed to be done in terms of picking correct sources. And this is something that we still need to learn how to do moving through this class and, like I said, beyond. So so basically trying to use the questions this week as a set of criteria in order to judge whether or not the author is effective. That's something that I would recommend doing, and obviously you want to try to cover and be as in-depth as possible, so by answering those questions you'll be okay in that department. Alright, well, I don't really have too much to say about this week. so I'll keep it short and sweet. We're at the midway point, and so I have been inputting midway grades. If you have a question about your midway grade at this point, want to know how to make it higher, please reach out and contact me, and we can set up a time to talk over the phone or via email, whatever is most convenient for you. All right, other than that, keep going strong. And we have 2 due Bs. Remember, they're both due Wednesday. And other than that, have a good week. Bye.